first, I want to open the video by saying this isn't all that dramatic. I do feel like the Kotaku article that I read yesterday, it felt like it was a little bit sensationalized, made it a little bit more dramatic than it probably should have been. But I wanted to kind of address some things that I want to put in perspective. And I may consult my notes here because I'm not exactly a on-camera personality, and I lose my train of thought a lot. So first of all, our team was super excited to start working on the game. In fact, it's been almost literally the only thing I have cared about at all for like the last 3 months. You know, months ago I watched, I think it was this past summer, I watched Wendigoon's video about, sorry if I'm shaking the camera, have it on the desk here. Yeah, so this summer I watched Wendigoon's video about the mystery flesh pit, and at the end he mentions, you know, that this would make a great atmospheric survival horror game, and I thought, that is the coolest idea I've ever heard in my entire life, and I just got really obsessed with this idea and started, you know, kind of ideating on what would that look like. And I do have a small game studio called Village Fox, and I've been in the industry, or at least in education in the gaming industry, for the last 8 years at this point. And this idea was something that excited me like really nothing had up to this point, or at least for a very long time. So I started working up some concept art. I sent Trevor a message on Twitter. He liked the idea, so we got a little more serious about it. We moved the conversation over to Discord and added some more people in the chat. We started coming up with a story, some characters, new lore with the whole Cinnaval company and reopening the pit, all that. And we were able to get Isaiah Wendigoon on board, which I thought was amazing because he was the guy who I heard about it from. And had in fact sort of in a way been the genesis of the whole idea. There was some debate on whether we should launch the Kickstarter campaign in November or in March. My personal opinion was, you know, November is typically the time of the year, in my experience, that this sort of campaign, or really any online marketing campaign, works best. Plus March, we were a little worried that it was gonna interfere with the board game release, which, to be clear, that's not us. We don't have anything to do with that. I don't know anything about it. But there was a couple of things that I wanted to address in both the Kotaku article and in Trevor's statements that he released. He says it was a combination of fan feedback, a fumbled marketing push, internal disputes, and some deep introspection. Of course, I can't speak to what the deep introspection was, but as far as fan feedback, it was really overwhelmingly positive. There may have been one or two like vaguely negative comments in his private Discord, but generally speaking, we received like literally hundreds of positive messages and like 2 to 3 negative ones. I think maybe what he's more referring to is the fact that we didn't have a big influx of people right away to the campaign. I think that's probably what he's referring to, is sort of the slow process of starting it. As for the fumbled marketing push, I don't want to say too much about that because I don't want there to be a perception that I'm throwing anybody under the bus. So we'll just say there was a miscommunication And that kind of caused our marketing strategy to be undercut right at the beginning of the process. So we didn't we didn't end up getting any momentum on the campaign. Ironically, we're getting more attention now than when the campaign was actually started. So that's fun. It's way cooler to have your failures be public than your successes. That was a joke. So I feel like the campaign was definitely nipped in the bud way too early on in the process, and that really stunted the growth. I will take blame for Village Fox being a fairly unknown studio. We've never had much of a need for a big audience because we do mostly private work for, external companies, not trying to market to a wide array of people. But you should never have to depend on somebody else's audience, I suppose. So I'll take some of the blame for that. And I should have done more groundwork to make sure everybody was on the same page. We all knew our boundaries and knew sort of the expectations. I could have handled that better. As for internal disputes that he mentions, I honestly don't know what that's about. Everybody was super chill. I really enjoyed working with the team for the 3 months that we were working together. I thought it was cool. So I don't really know what that's about. But I mean, we disagree on this, and that's okay. Just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean I'm calling anybody out. I'm not saying anybody is a bad person, or trying to throw anybody under the bus. He made a decision that I disagree with, but ultimately it is his IP, and he is within his rights to do that, and we have to respect that. That is not my call to make. He's an auteur, and he didn't feel comfortable handing over his creative control to somebody else. And as an artist, I get where he's coming from. I, again, wish that had gone differently, but I understand, it's hard to let your creation that you've put so much work into sort of be handed over to somebody else. That's really difficult. And as Trevor said in his statement, a video game is a substantial undertaking and is wholly beyond his scope as an artist. And it is a huge undertaking. And that's what teams are for. That's what my team was here for, is to, we've got experience, we've got the knowledge of making games. So I don't feel that was fair to cut it off on the second day of the campaign. I know what my team is capable of. It hurts to see it cut short, but again, that's his call to make. Now, hearing him say that it would be a rushed and inferior gaming experience at best, I can honestly say that was devastating to me. That genuinely hurt my feelings. But I do understand the pressure he feels. As a creator, anything you put that much work into is hard to let go. And it wasn't a mutual decision per se. I think it is more embarrassing to cancel a campaign early than leave it run for the full length, even if it doesn't get funded. Although I have heard that 70% of the funding comes in the last week, so I was kind of holding out hope for that, even though it was admittedly a slow start. But I think it bears out in the evidence that it was not a good call to cancel the campaign early, because now, as I said, we're getting more attention than we did when the campaign was live, which is a very Kind of, honestly, kind of funny irony. Oh well. No, I think he got in a little bit of a pessimistic spiral, and he let it get the better of him. But he had stuff going on in his life that is not my place to talk about. Like, if he wants to talk more about it, that's not my place. I'm just honestly sad that nobody got to. I know, I was shocked that nobody got to find our ARG stuff that we had in the campaign. That was like a huge element of it, and like nobody seemed to find it, which I thought was very I thought that was very strange. But that was one of the most fun parts of the entire experience to me, was making the ARG. And there may still be like a couple of the clues like floating out there on the internet somewhere. I think I got most of those taken down, but it's possible you'll still be able to find stuff floating out there. But I don't think so at this point. Regardless, you're not going to be able to solve it at this point. But no worries. Life happens, and that's okay. It is perfectly okay to have disagreements and for things not to work out. We're going to be able to put this passion and this work and this knowledge that we've gained into more projects further down the line. We started working on another project back in 2020 that we're probably going to be shifting to now. It's like a Southern Gothic horror game where ancient Egyptian gods rule over the southeastern United States. Basically, imagine if the Bass Pro Shops pyramid was also like an ancient temple. Lastly, I want to address this. I don't think the statement was directed at us when Trevor said it. I have seen some commenters on the articles interpreting as it being about us. I hope that it's not, but he says poorly planned cash grabs by burnout creators, and some people have interpreted that as being about my studio. I don't think he intended that to be directed at us, because that's one of the things I was excited about with the game is, we agree on this. I am so tired of seeing these passionless projects like games and movies and stuff, and like all these sequels and remakes and all this like garbage that's being made, that by dried out husks of people who are just making this content for money. And if you're just working on stuff to make money and get clicks, you're missing the point of creating stuff. Now, obviously, you have to have money to survive. That's just, we live in a society. But make something that you care about. Just because it makes money does not mean it's worthwhile. And just because it doesn't make money does not mean it's not worthwhile. That was a confusing sentence. But make something meaningful that you care about. That's way more important than the money. We're still going to make stuff regardless. It may not be Mystery Flush Pit related. In fact, it won't be. But we'll keep on making other stuff. We'll keep on moving forward, and no hard feelings. I wish everybody who was involved on this project the best of luck, and I truly, truly am so grateful to those. I think there's around 250 or 300 people who gave to our campaign on the first day, and that meant so much to me. Like, I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with like the support we did get. I'm really grateful for that. So, long story short, we'll keep on going. We'll keep on making stuff. I'm heartbroken, that this project didn't end up getting made, but it is what it is, and that's just how life goes sometimes. But I will not lose hope, and I will not stop creating stuff. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Appreciate you for watching the video and hearing my side of the story. Again, don't want anybody feel like I'm throwing them under the bus. All that happened was we didn't really get the traction we expected. That's really, the sides of the story is that it just didn't work, and that's okay. It happens. All right.